What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Cut Light and Smoke podcast, and I'm JB. I'm going to be hosting it today, and I've got Brad's sister, Kari Reith, sitting right next to me today, and you know, when she comes out to visit, she likes to do these podcasts, and she had some pretty good ideas about some things she wanted to kind of talk about as far as, you know, I think a lot of people are kind of curious about, you know, is the podcast something that's going to keep going? Especially that even myself, I've kind of been asking myself that question, and how is this passion project of Bradley Reith something that can be continued on? And it's definitely not something I could have done on my own. That's 100% for sure. Couldn't have done the podcast on my own. The videos, that's one thing, but the podcast, man, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
But you've been kind of having some ideas, and we're going to talk about that and just smoke a couple cigars. I'm just smoking a Milled Diaz from Crown Heads.
And you really like Crown Heads.
Well, you're
getting into it.
Yeah, I like a couple of the cigars quite a bit. They have one that they don't make anymore called the Buckeye Land. Mm-hmm. It was one they made specifically and released in Ohio that was really good. And Craig was the rep was gracious enough to stop by and had some Buckeye Lands available for me, which was kind of cool.
Very cool.
But yeah, no, I really enjoy the cigar, and I have some sitting around, so I figured I'd smoke one. But you got something special.
I got something special because one of our customers brought it in. So a lot of you will know this. So when I was here, and we have a Reith family brand for one for Brad, that's Crooked Beard, one for my dad, that's Devil Doc, and one for our mom, that is Cherished Matriarch. Yep. And then
which I'm trying to figure out if I can get back.
Yeah,
I'm working on that.
We're working on it. But the one that was for me was a limited leaf, so it won't come back. But we had a customer, his name is Carl, super sweet guy. He had one in his humidor, the Carolina. I don't know if you can see it, but this is a Carolina. This is my cigar.
That was one of the best Connecticut's I've ever smoked.
Best. And so many people who smoked this compared it, said that it actually was comparable or beat the Davidoff. So he brought one in for me so I could smoke it. And I was like, ooh, Justin, I want to smoke it on the podcast. So.
Yeah, I think we blindfolded a gentleman that's good friends with Brad that we call Davidoff Dave, because that's the only cigars that he smokes.
Only one.
And yeah, Brad blind taste tested him on a video, and he actually chose the Carolina. Yeah, it's very. It's
so good.
I don't even remember the last time I smoked one of those, but it was a very sweet Honduran Connecticut with just a nice vanilla note. Oh man,
so good.
It was a very, very good Connecticut.
And I never V-cut.
No?
I never V-cut.
You go do it V-cut a torpedo too? I do it at like a little bit of like an angle.
Angle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like this. You want to V-cut it for me? V-cut it for me. Help your sister out. Here. Yeah, don't use this one. Use that one.
So I go up.
You go up like that?
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right. Teach me. Because I never smoked torpedoes. Even mine. So, okay. All right. You going to show them? Show the people. Nice. Okay. Okay. I see what you did there. Nice. So even when we had the Carolinas, they came in a torpedo and a Toro. I personally never smoked the torpedo. I only smoked the Toros. So I have never cut a torpedo. And even to this day, I've never cut one. Thank you, Justin.
That's like in high school, there was a chick that, I'm not going to say her name. I almost did. Just out of habit. So then I had to say, I'm not going to say her name.
Right.
But she was super sweet, but she didn't pump her gas her entire time in high school.
Oh my gosh.
All she had to do was ask some dude to follow her to the gas station and pump her gas for her.
No way.
Puppy dog eyes, follow her all the way to the gas station. Oh yeah, it was great. I don't think she ever pumped her gas. I got asked a couple times. I'm like, I ain't pumping your gas, fool. You know how much gas it cost me to drive down there in my Chevelle?
Women do have that, like, if you work it right, you can you can absolutely because men are very, very they're visual creatures. And
I didn't even mean for this to go this way, but you're kind of leading me right into where we were going with it.
I know. It just naturally went, right?
Yeah.
We were talking about this earlier, so we're just going to
Yeah,
go
and
ahead.
she had one of them like Nanny Fran voices too, so it was kind of interesting. It was like kind of lower and quiet, and I just need you to pump my gas.
So we're
They ate it up. He ate that shit.
Oh, this is such a good cigar.
It even smells good.
Oh, I've missed it. Hello, old friend.
Yeah, it even smells good.
Oh, this is a good stick. It's a great stick.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Man, I've missed this. Anyways, what Justin and I were talking about with the podcast was we definitely want to keep it going. But like you said, a podcast is a, more than one person thing. It's a dialogue. You got to have a dialogue. But because the original Cut
Light Smoke.
Cut Light and Smoke podcast was set up for masculinity, culture, and cigars.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We're absolutely gonna continue that, but we're just gonna add femininity to it. The perspective of femininity, not a feminist. Please don't worry about that because I am nowhere near a feminist. But just a feminine perspective on culture, on masculinity, on cigars.
Yeah.
So that's just
long story short. What she's trying to say is you're gonna hear and see Kari on the podcast more. let me put that a little bit easier for everybody to understand in case you're not catching. I'm not gonna have a bunch of random women on this podcast.
No.
But no, I think it'll be different for people, especially considering that the podcast was Brad's place to come vent. It was everything that he was frustrated about that he felt he needed to say something about, and he didn't know where else to say it. And this became that for him. Mm-hmm. It was kind of weird for me too, because the podcast transitioned to that. At the beginning, it was something that I was kind of dictating as far as like the conversation. I had things written down that I was getting through and getting to during the podcast, or certain things I wanted to bring out that he was talking about, or that was on topic that I wanted to kind of poke him with.
Okay.
And then it just kind of became a place for him to just
talk about the culture topics.
Get on his soapbox and just give. But it turned out to be good, because I think there's a lot of useful information that people can go back. And I've heard multiple people say that they have gone back and listened to, because that's going to live on forever.
For sure.
Until the EMP hits and the internet goes down. But we're not here to talk about that.
I mean, that may be a later podcast, so.
But yeah, no, and I think it is important to keep it going. And I don't think there's a lot of other people that at the moment have a good seat at that table. Mm-hmm. But you will. And you do, mostly because you've been a part of the business. You've been here. You've been a part of videos. You've been on podcasts. And
mm-hmm.
I think that's probably a good place to start.
And I think a really good, what I would like to do and what I would like to know is, I mean, we do have an email, right? Cut Light and Smoke podcast
at gmail.com. I
So,
think it's Cut Light and Smoke.
Okay. And you can put it at the bottom of the screen.
I can't remember if it's podcast or Cut Light and Smoke at Gmail. I got to look.
But you can put it at the bottom of the screen or underneath. Yeah.
He confused me with it. So
so it'll either be down below or at the bottom of the screen. One of the two. But email us topics. Email us topics that you want to hear perspectives. And the difference is also, like, we'll come with our own topics that we want to discuss, but we also want to know what topics you want to hear perspectives on. And the different perspectives are not only male and female, but Justin's been married for a long time and I'm single. So I was married for 3 years and I've been divorced for quite some time. But I have a very different perspective than him. I'm also older than him. So we have different points of view. So those we're going to bring to whatever topic.
You've got a lot, not necessarily a lot, but you have unique things in your life that make your life and the life that you've had growing up a lot different than most people with epilepsy and things like that too. So that
for sure,
you even have a whole nother perspective on life just from that, which is really unique.
100%.
So,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And honestly, the way you grew up too,
Yeah.
like being raised on a farm and being raised in certain ways that you got raised. Like we have very, very unique perspectives, very unique work ethics, very unique things that how we were raised that this is going to be from our perspectives, but talking about things that are happening today, talking about things that are happening in our culture, talking about things that you guys want us to, like you send us topics, you send us different things, and you want to hear our perspectives on it. Definitely. Like we honestly
within reason.
Yeah. We're not gonna like. Yeah. We're not gonna go there. Yeah. Side eye. Yeah. Side eye. Sure.
Heard the Rock's back in wrestling. Well, I think it's funny too. There's kind of like an ironic part to that too about you being on the podcast, and it's because I think it's interesting about there's been a lot of information been told to Brad over the years about like the boom as far as women in the cigar industry, and Brad always kind of like he kind of snarled at it. It was kind of funny. He was always like it's hard to find the information on it. There's not a lot of
data.
Yeah, there's not
about
a lot
women
of
in
data.
cigars.
Yeah, so it'll be cool to have, and from my perspective, it'll be interesting to hear from a woman's perspective about the cigar industry, and that's what we really loved about having Quinta around too.
Yeah.
Quinta really provided a very unique look into,
And she's even younger.
yeah, cigar industry, both culture from a female perspective, from from a different cultural perspective. It's really, and she had a totally different life growing up. So
For sure.
I think it's kind of funny that to get your perspective on something, especially a woman's perspective, whereas I think Brad sometimes was a little bit hard-headed when it came to that.
Well, I mean, and in what way was he not wanting women?
No, I don't think it had anything to do with that.
That doesn't make
No, that's not him.
Yeah.
No.
Because I mean,
I think it was just hard to see the data, right? Because
Yeah.
you would hear people talking about like
because all the women,
all these cigar shops are getting ready to open that are women owned, or and he would hear all these things and he would be like, that's amazing, but like I'm not seeing it. There's only a couple shops here in the Phoenix area that I'm aware of that are owned by women. Now, if you go to Atlanta, you go to the East Coast, there's a lot of shops owned by women.
Oh, okay.
And actually, if you look at the statistics from what I could find from 2000, which is 20 years ago, obviously,
Right.
there was only like 7% of the population of women that smokes cigars.
So-
Now it's like 17, almost 18%.
So what was the big, like, to do? Like, did he have issues with it?
No, I think it
Or
was just there
was it
wasn't
like there
enough
was
information to support what people were saying that anybody could find.
What were people saying?
Just that, like that
Like
there were
there was a
more.
big boom
no, it was
of women?
no, it was specific. Yeah, that there was a bigger boom in women getting into cigars, which is kind of true. There definitely is in that. I would agree with that. But they were specifically saying that there were more women opening cigar shops than men, which was a couple of the arguments that were had around
men?
here. Yeah.
That
So there
would
was
make sense.
Yeah, and he got a little frustrated at that, right? So
Yeah.
there was some interesting things about that, and there's also another layer to how male-driven industries use females to push their marketing.
Oh my gosh, that honestly,
And I think that really snarled him, or not snarled, but that kind of made him look at things differently when women would come in and say they were a part of the cigar industry or they wanted to be a part of the cigar industry.
yeah,
or,
like in what respect do you want to be a part of the cigar
or we
industry
see
as a woman?
reps get moved to other places and get their jobs taken by women who are very active on social media. It's very interesting.
Okay.
So
That was one thing that I didn't like.
yeah, I was going to ask you what you thought about what's your general perspective. So as somebody who's not, I wouldn't say somebody who's generally like excited about cigars, but somebody who has been around the industry for quite a while now, what's your perspective on women in the cigar industry?
I would say
We actually have a lot around here too.
a lot of women.
Yeah, there's a lot of women that come in here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. And yeah. I would say it's like a tiramisu. It's multi-layered, right?
Onions have layers.
Right. Well, so does tiramisu.
Ogres have layers.
Ogres. So there's I have different perspectives of women in cigars. So the women that come in here, because we have so many women that come in here.
Yeah.
And so many different women that come in here.
There are a lot of different.
Yeah. So we have so many women who come in here, and the women who come in here are so different.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing, is that like, and I love that. I absolutely love the women that come in here because they are so different. However, I will say the one type of woman that does not come in here is what I would categorize as the booby model.
There's a couple places around here that turn into nightclubs at night where you'll probably find a lot of that, but
they don't come in here.
No, not really.
We've never really had. But the only one that actually did come in here was an undercover agent. I do remember that. Yeah. Remember her?
She didn't have a lot of clothes on.
No, she was like pretty naked. And I remember, like, I was like, "What is going on? We don't have no one ever comes in here dressed like that." And we were freaking out. We were like, "What is she okay?" Like, we thought that she was some kind of like she was taken by someone. We were worried because she looked super, super young, like really young. Any hoozle. But no, like we get so many different women in here, and I love the women who come in here because they have so many different questions and they have so many different perspectives and they have so much to offer. And they come in with a lot. Like, they're like, "Oh, I smoke this, or I smoke that, or this is what I usually like." And they have as much complexity in their cigar palette as so many men who come in here. And I've seen so many men's minds be blown by their palettes. And it's awesome to see men kind of get surprised by the women's palettes being so complex and so rich in cigar knowledge. But it only happens really like the first time. And when they get surprised, and then
it's just kind of like a respect.
It's a respect thing. Yeah. 100%. They're like, "Nice. I wasn't expecting that, but that's awesome." And then the surprise doesn't happen again. And it's just a respect. It's like, cool.
See, I love seeing people's cigar journeys. Because there's a couple that come in here that we call Lebowski. We just call them combination of Big Lebowski because they look like the Big Lebowski.
Yes.
But I won't use their real names, but they're freaking great people, and they started coming down together. And she started off smoking mostly like flavored stuff.
Flavored, yeah.
Some of the Deadwood, some other stuff, but now whatever he buys, she's smoking.
Yeah.
And it's cool to hear her talk about her journey and the way that she can kind of get flavors and stuff out of cigars now. And it's kind of weird. It's like one of those things where it's like, if you're a cook and you cook a lot, I would expect you to be able to know a little bit more notes that come out of cigars than somebody who doesn't cook and use a lot of spices a lot. That's a good point. Not saying that women are the ones cooking, but like generally speaking, I would say my wife would notice things more than I would if it pertained to things that came from food. If I cook dinner, it's not going to taste as good as my wife cooks dinner. You could give us the same damn recipe. The same recipe. We'll cook it right next to each other, and my wife's is still going to taste better. It just is.
Right.
And maybe it's because she has a different palate, or maybe she just knows and takes more care of what to do in cooking. I don't know the details.
Or she, like, as she's cooking, she knows a little bit more salt or a little bit more pepper, a little bit more. Yeah.
If I try it, I'm like, it tastes okay. I'll eat it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. No, I get you. For sure. Yeah.
So it's kind of weird that, when you think about things from a different perspective like that, it kind of makes a little bit more sense. If I'm a chef and I'm cooking a lot, there's going to be notes in cigars that I could potentially pull out as far as nutmeg, cinnamon, things like that maybe somebody who never cooks and uses those things would
never
notice.
Uses them, right. Yeah. And they wouldn't know what it tastes like. They wouldn't know what it, like, how it feels and how it tastes in the mouth.
How it burns, how it tingles, what it makes your mouth.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I like to look at it that way sometimes.
For sure. Absolutely. And then like, so seeing the women come in and seeing their palates develop, or seeing their journeys, or seeing them, honestly feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the biggest things that I've heard from so many women, especially in our shop. Quinta being the first one, because Quinta started off as a customer. And
had a couple bad experiences.
Yeah. When she came in, I remember helping her. And when I saw her,
you were the first one to help her. That's right.
Yeah, because Heather saw her first, and then she had some questions, and Heather she wasn't sure what to, how to steer her. So Heather was like, hold on, let me go get Kari. Grabbed me, and I started kind of steering her around different cigars, and, just treating her like I treat everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, because why wouldn't I? And before she, picked up any cigars, she looked at me and she was like, I can't tell you how comfortable you're making me feel. And I was like, well, of course, why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
And she told me she had went to several different cigar shops, and they made her feel so out of place, and like she didn't belong, and that they didn't even want to answer her questions. And they made her feel stupid for even asking questions.
Yep.
And I was like, girl, please. I ask questions all the time. I am known as the interrogator of interrogators. That's all I do is ask questions. So she'd be asking questions without knowing she's asking questions. You'd just be giving shit away without knowing it. I mean, a professional investigator and a professional interrogator does that. I mean, what?
You're like, wait, shit, did I just commit to a crime?
I mean, you do what you do.
No, honey, you just told me this.
Right. Exactly. Can we
look at that thing.
I mean, it's just beautiful.
I miss that cigar.
I do too. Anywho,
that was a good one.
But yeah, hearing those. Even I was just before you got back here, when you were helping the customer from before we started, I thought, you know what? I wonder how Nicole with the shoes.
Oh yeah.
I wonder how she's doing.
She moved away, but she used to come in a lot.
And honestly, we have
always had
nicknames.
Sick Jordans on.
Always.
Oh man, she was always looking sick. Yeah.
Every time she came in here, we were like, man. She had the flyest gear. Her outfit always matched her shoes.
To the point, I was trying to figure out what days that she was coming in so that I could try to wear good looking shoes just so I could be like, look, man, I got some shoe game too.
No one could touch her shoe game. No one.
Nah, it's legit.
No one.
it's legit.
We had nicknames for so many. We have nicknames for so many customers.
Oh yeah.
Like Nicole with the shoes. We know Nicole with the shoes. Nicole with the shoes and the Lebowskis and everybody.
Yeah, Lebowski.
We have ways to remember.
Mike.
Yeah, right, exactly. We have ways to remember customers.
Marine Mike.
Yeah.
T-shirt Dave.
Exactly. And our customers are the best. We have the best customers.
And we call them that. It's not like these secret names we call people. Yeah, that's T-shirt Dave.
Well, yeah. Absolutely. So it's not like a hidden thing. Yeah.
Zach is Harley Guy Zach or Filipino Zach.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just...
Yeah.
Kevin, I forget what do we... I called Kevin for the longest time, Ryder Kevin, but
Kevin is
Discount Tire Kevin now.
Yeah,
everybody's got nicknames.
Well, and Grant is the family lawyer.
The family lawyer, yeah. He's got a lot of nicknames though. Mm-hmm. Oh man.
But the one thing, and I don't want to discount this, I don't want to say it in an offensive way. There are a lot of women in cigars that are in cigars specifically.
I got some written down.
To use that use their bodies.
Oh, not
in
those.
Cigars. Yeah,
I have different ones written down.
Yeah, there are women in cigars that specifically use their body, whether they're models, whether they're social media models, or whether they're working for the cigar industry in events and things like that. And that's your business. I'm not here to judge your business. But the one thing that I can say is men are very, very visual. That is how God made them. So the only thing that I can say is that it doesn't make sense to me if a woman is doing that, like using her body in a very physical way, especially in the cigar industry. If a woman uses her body in that way and a man reacts to her body in that way, and if she would get upset. If she got upset, that wouldn't make sense to me. Don't get upset. If you're using your body in that way and a man reacts to your body in that way, you shouldn't get upset because you're using your body in that way. That's what doesn't make sense to me. And does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no. And it's interesting because, like, you know, when Brad would say that, because we've had conversations about it, it sounds totally different than when it comes from you. So, like, that's a perfect example of why I like that, to get a different perspective on things.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't, because to me, it doesn't make sense for a woman to walk around half naked, holding a tray of something at a cigar shop or in a cigar event.
Oh, you mean like in Vegas?
You okay?
Sorry,
You okay?
don't inhale.
Right.
Thanks, Clinton.
Yeah. So it doesn't make sense to me if you're walking around with a tray of something half naked and you're serving all of this, you know, whatever it is, cigars, you know, whatever. And a guy is doing he'll never look at your face. He won't know your name. He won't know your face. He won't know anything about you. He'll only look at your neck down. Always. If you tell him your whole story, if he tells you, oh, I'd like to take you out. No, he won't. Not at all. Not at all. He doesn't care about you. He only cares about your body. And if you get offended by that, that's your issue. That's 100% your issue. You are now a booby model. You've only ever been a booby model.
I think that should be a Brad trademarked word.
A booby model. You will never be anything other than that to that person who sees you as that. There are going to be other men who don't want you to dress that way, don't want you to expose yourself, and will tell you that to your face. My brother was very, very open with that. Like, women should cover themselves and not expose themselves to men, because he knew how some men could be. Not all men, some men could be. And he wanted to protect women. He's very, very big. And I'm very big on protecting women. So I think that it's important for women to protect themselves and protect other women. But I'm not trying to offend anyone. I just think that it's really, really important to be aware, like very self-aware. Like if this is the job or the position that you chose, don't get offended by the reactions, basically, that you're getting, or not just the job, but if this is the outfit that you're wearing. You know what I mean? If you're walking around half naked.
Yep.
Don't get offended by by the reactions that you're getting.
By the dirty old dude smoking cigars.
But yeah, like, honestly, like, I think, and there are so many women that are like, well, I want to dress like sexier, or I want to dress cute or whatever. If you look back at the women in the 50s and 60s, or even the 40s and 30s, they dressed to their body. They dressed really, really well. Very, very sexy, if you will. Very reserved too. Like, they had everything covered, but they were gorgeous. You don't have to show everything. You don't have to show people what's inside the present for them to want to unwrap it. Okay. All right. And yes, I have Southern, and I have all kinds of different things that I'll throw out there.
It's funny you make a Christmas Santa unpackaging reference, because I used to call Brad Santa Claus.
Well, I mean, honestly, that's what it is. Like, you have to present yourself in such a way that you don't let everybody know what's under You wrap yourself in a way that they
gotta let that imagination wander a little bit.
Exactly. You have to let men use their imagination, but you don't let them unwrap until it's time for them to unwrap. It's kind of like, your grandma or your mom would say, you don't give away the milk with the cow or whatever.
Yeah, I forget how you say it.
Yeah. Like, let them use their imagination. They don't need to know everything. No, they have to earn that.
I think that's a pretty good snippet of how potential podcast could go, as far as just getting a different perspective. And there's going to be things that we definitely probably won't agree on that'll be interesting to talk about. So yeah, this it'll be interesting. It'll be a different change of pace, but definitely want to try to get some stuff and keep going for you guys. And maybe this will end up being a place for me and you to vent about things, and we could turn it into that. So yep, I'm excited. And with that, guys, we got to get out of here. So you guys take it easy.
Peace.